Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's FPC Radio Live. It's Monday, November 21st, and it is Thanksgiving week. And I'm going to use this opportunity to remind everyone that ham is the superior Thanksgiving meat. If you're going to have to choose between ham and turkey, I'm just giving the facts out there, John. I know people can't handle the truth. We know that.
No, apparently not. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'll go along with that. But obviously being Italian American, I'll take lasagna over both. So we'll have that on Thursday as well.
Look, I'd agree with that too. But I'm not going to make the conversation too complicated here. All right.
True. We need some protein, right? So it's either ham, turkey, or chicken, or pork roast, or whatever you want. Enjoy the day.
Well, like I said before, I mean the reason, and this is my belief, and as we know, John, on the show, what I believe is right.
True.
Yeah, see, there you go. You agree. What I believe is that the only reason people love turkey, and we heard him talking about it on the broadcast last night. Oh, I love turkey. No, you don't love turkey. You don't. Trust me. I know better than you do. All right. You are conditioned to love turkey on Thanksgiving. That's all it is. That's all it is. I mean, think about everything about Thanksgiving. It's all centered around turkey. Turkey this, turkey that. Oh, there's a big turkey on the parade. Oh, we're gonna eat turkey. We're gonna carve the turkey. All that stuff. Look, everything about eating turkey, the process, cooking, cutting it sucks. Who the hell likes cutting turkey? Seriously, John. You can buy ham that's like pre-cut, and you can just cut the sides off. That's how great ham is. I mean, it's far less work, but no. Seriously though, it's work to carve the turkey. Unless someone is an incredible cook, it's generally dry. I don't know. Pass. That's all I'm saying, John. Pass.
All right, I can. I like turkey, but I have all the other stuff around it. But speaking of turkeys, how about the Patriots-Jets game yesterday? It was 3 hours and 10 minutes. I was passing a kidney stone.
I was begging for them not to go to overtime, and my prayers were answered. Okay, because I was like, I cannot take another quarter of this football. No, look, this is kind of where we're at right now. We're gonna have we're not gonna be on too long today. We're kind of a short show, but we're gonna react to it. There's a lot of things to react to. And that is certainly one of them. That game was, look, the Patriots have a championship defense. Agree or disagree?
I have to wait because the last three quarterbacks they've played are Zach Wilson, Ellinger, Zach Wilson. When they've played good quarterbacks, they haven't looked like a championship defense, whether it was Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, heck, even Justin Fields put up 33 points against them. So we'll know more on Thursday night when they face Minnesota. And then obviously the next week when they face Buffalo, that'll give us a bigger idea of how good this defense is. But so far, so good.
No, I agree. And to an extent, because I would put the caveat in of, well, Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson are different type of quarterback. You know what I mean? Their ability to run has always befuddled the Patriots defense. Agree. I mean, you know what I mean? Over the years, these running quarterbacks have somehow always... And extremely talented. I mean, we're not just talking about a couple guys that can run around. We're talking about perhaps the two, Add in Josh Allen as well, two elite runners at the quarterback position. So that's tough. But their defense, I believe, is championship quality because, quite frankly, John, the difference between the bad teams in this league and the really good teams are really it's not that different. It's really not that different. There's a couple teams that have separated themselves, but I think what we saw yesterday was kind of a eye-opening experience for some. Minnesota got shellacked. I mean that might have been the most surprising outcome of the day. I was not surprised about that, or I mean I was not. I was shocked. Let's put it that way, because I picked Minnesota to win. Two, I thought it was going to be competitive. I didn't think the Cowboys weren't going to be in this game. I thought it was going to be a really good game, but wow, that was shocking, John. And here we are, John, last couple weeks propping up Minnesota, talking about Minnesota. Oh, is Minnesota finally going to be a real contender? That probably took them back about 10 years. That loss, that was pretty embarrassing.
Well, they're 8-2 right now, and they've been outscored by 2 points this year, which doesn't even seem possible. They win all the close games, and when a game is a blowout, they're on the wrong end of it. And I picked Dallas in the game. Dallas was a 1.5-point favorite, which would lead you to believe that Vegas knew something, that Dallas is a better team than Minnesota. Minnesota coming off that huge emotional win over Buffalo. Green Bay beat Dallas last week, so Dallas was upset about that. So I think that teams were coming from different directions, and give Dallas credit. They just absolutely destroyed Minnesota. And look, kickoff was 4:25 Eastern, right? I guess we can kind of call that prime time, or at least, when you're old, that's prime time. Yeah, so maybe if the 1 o'clock games, Kirk Cousins is awesome. Anything after that, he's got a lot of trouble. But that pass rush of Dallas just destroyed Minnesota from the get-go. I mean, very first series, Micah Parsons strip sack looking like Lawrence Taylor, leads to a field goal, and away you go, 40-3.
Well, and look, I mean, this is something where I'm not going to say they're necessarily the 2022 version of the Raiders, who you so appropriately pointed out they were very good in one-score games last year, not so much this year. Because I think they are better than last year's Raiders team, but there could be a little bit of that kind of in play here, where, yeah, they're winning a lot of these close games, and I'm not going to call it luck, but that fortune, so to speak, it doesn't necessarily always continue, and eventually you're going to have to figure it out to where you're going to have to learn how to win close games, and that's something that Buffalo needs to do too. I mean, they won yesterday, but kind of following the pattern of, well, they either win big or they lose. You know what I mean? That's pretty much it. So, but for Minnesota, I'm sitting here looking like, man, look, this division is still a wrap. There's no real threat for them to lose this division. Maybe had the Packers maybe won this week, maybe you keep that door open a little bit, but right now it's just not feasible. So I think Minnesota is still in okay shape, but man, I hope if you're a Vikings fan, you're hoping they look in the mirror and like, okay, what happened? How did we get blown out like this? Because that shouldn't happen to a team that should be expected to compete for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, you couldn't pass protect, and that was evident from the first series, and it continued throughout the game. And when that happens, you're going to be in a certain amount of trouble. Then Justin Jefferson's dealing with an injury, and now you've got a short turnaround for both Minnesota and the Patriots. They meet Thanksgiving night in Minnesota, so that's going to be an interesting matchup because the Patriots defense is excellent. We'll get a better idea of what happens on Thursday against a better offense than they faced the last 3 games. But yeah, I just think that you look at Dallas's defense, which kind of fell asleep in the fourth quarter against Green Bay. They came out very strong yesterday, and they kept it up the entire game. And they're in pretty good shape. But as you said, Ian, right now the 2 hottest teams in the NFC in terms of winning streaks: Detroit Lions, Washington Commanders.
Like everyone expected, John. Everyone expected. Yeah, I was sitting there I'm sitting there watching that line, or watching Red Zone, but seeing the Lions game pop up yesterday, and I'm sitting there scratching my head because I'm like, earlier that morning, I'm sitting here talking about, oh well, the Lions have won 2 in a row, but who cares? Now it's 3 in a row, John. And it's like, I don't know what to think of it. I felt like the honeymoon period between the Lions, the media, the fans, and all that, and Dan Campbell had been over. So I thought it was starting to go that familiar route of like, all right, the excitement is over for the new coach. The losing has continued, so we're just going to repeat that cycle. But it seems like they've gotten a little bit of a second life here because, for better or worse, and you've said this a lot, they play for the guy, okay? And they played yesterday and won. And again, who would have thought that they, along with the Commanders, who looked like an absolute mess to start the season, would be the 2 longest streaking teams in the NFC. And look, I mean, Philly almost, this is something that's concerning too. I don't know if I'm ready to start hitting a panic button on Philadelphia, but yesterday's rebound game after losing was not what I had hoped for, or at least expected based on how I viewed this Philadelphia team. I thought they were going to bounce back a lot stronger than what they did. And Jeff Saturday and the Colts nearly pulled off the upset again.
Yeah, and the Colts have a good defense.
They do.
Obviously, Shaq Leonard is
and look, they're better with Matt Ryan.
Defense.
They're better with Matt Ryan, a healthy Matt Ryan. I mean,
yep.
I still, look, he's not the same player he used to be, but they are so much better just in general with him under center. It's very evident.
Absolutely. And now you've got future coach of the year, Jeff Saturday, doing push-ups and et cetera. The GOAT coach.
Yeah, the GOAT coach. Hey, well, look, let's talk about that real quick, because I mean that was obviously a big topic of conversation last week or the last couple of weeks. But my reaction was, why the hell not? If you're Indianapolis, what do you got to lose? And quite frankly, based on how this coaching cycle just repeats itself. I mean, it's this wheel that just keeps going and going and going. It's the same over and over and over again. You get these retreads that get rehired, and you're like, why are they hired? And then you get the offensive gurus, the next guys that are up and coming, and then out of the 8 that get talked about for a couple of years, about 6 of them flame out, and that's it. And you don't even think about it. And at best, the other 2 become mediocre to pretty good coaches in the league. And the reality of it is, the same old guys are sitting at the top being like, well, we're still the best. And I don't quite really see any successors other than, well, someone has to step up when they eventually retire. So why not dip your toe in a pool that hasn't been touched yet? And that is, well, the former player with absolutely zero experience.
Yeah, I mean, he's commanding the room. He's got those guys playing hard after when they play the Patriots, it looked like they just tanked the game. They had no soul, no spirit. But the last 2 weeks, give them credit. They've shown up. They've won one game and came very, very close to beating what is the best team in the league record-wise.
Look, if this country can elect a former TV personality with zero experience to be the president, I'm pretty sure the Colts can be okay, hiring a TV personality, former player, to be the coach of that team. And look, who knows the long-term projection when it comes to Jeff Saturday. And sometimes sparks like this can win you some games. This may not be a lot. I mean, the Colts may be competitive the rest of the season, but it may not mean anything much towards the future, because eventually teams are going to regroup. And then, you're going to come back next season and teams aren't going to be like, oh, it's Jeff Saturday. It's like, no, that's the Colts, and we're game planning for them. We know what they do. And how do they react? And that's something that we haven't really seen yet. So far, so good. I know they lost yesterday, but very competitive against the Eagles. Certainly created maybe a little bit of pause when you talk about the Eagles, because it's like, okay, I thought, you lose a tough game against Washington last week. You had your first loss of the season. You knew it was going to come eventually. Let's see, how do you react the next week, and how do you respond? And I thought they underwhelmed a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was just, just one of those. It was just one of those days in the league overall, right? I mean, obviously the Pats Jets game was a snooze fest, and Chargers Kansas City. Every time they play, it's a 1-score game that comes down to the end. Mm-hmm. So, and then you have things in between all of that. But yeah, very, very, very interesting weekend, which obviously wraps up tonight with San Francisco and Arizona playing in Mexico City, high up in the altitude.
Well, look, San Francisco might be starting to make their case to be the best team in the NFC at this point. The door's been opened with Philadelphia the last couple weeks. Minnesota's obviously faltered. I think the tortoise in all of this is the Buccaneers, who at 5-5 all of a sudden don't look in such bad position in the conference. It'll be interesting to see how this back half plays out. I like San Francisco tonight for a lot of reasons. One, I think they're a better team. Two, I think Arizona's a mess, and that's another one of those coaches I've mentioned in the flame out section. You know what I mean? When it comes to, oh, look at all these new up and coming guys, and we'll see what happens. And well, we're seeing what happens in Arizona. He's not that good of a coach, in my opinion. I think the pattern that has followed him throughout his career, both here and at Texas, it's hard to shake. Like, how do you have such success for portions of seasons and then have almost the exact opposite unsuccess the second half or the first half or whatever? So I don't know how much the NFC is going to be turned upside down, but I have an expectation or a feeling that if you're going to get a couple more performances like this out of the Eagles and Minnesota especially, and I mean, look, I don't know if the Patriots have the offense to compete with Minnesota. I really don't. That's the one thing where I'm sitting here thinking, like, man, they might just be a quarterback away, or they should do what some of these other teams have done, like the Bills, like Miami, go out and get that top flight receiver. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who that could be right now, but the way I'm thinking, it's the Patriots might just be a quarterback or that stud wide receiver away from putting it all together on offense.
The thing is, those guys are very expensive. And the strange thing about the Patriots is they've spent more money on the tight end position than any team in the league. Mm-hmm. And they're third spending on wide receiver. The problem is they've spread it out. So you got Nelson Aguilar, who's got a big cap hit. Kendrick Bourne signed a nice contract. Devontae Parker's making $7-8 million a year. So you paid a lot of guys a decent amount of money, whereas, we saw what Buffalo did. They went out and got Stephon Diggs, or the Raiders went out and got Devontae Adams. Tyreek Hill goes to Miami. You go get that stud wide receiver who has a huge impact on the passing attack, right? Because they're going to be double teamed.
More so now, it feels like, right? Doesn't it feel like this era of football, really the last 5-6 years or so, are so much more dependent on that stud wide receiver just because of how the rules are?
Yeah, I mean, and the impact they have on the entire offense.
Yeah.
There was a time where they were just like window dressing, right? Mm-hmm. Or icing on the cake. Oh, we've got a nice wide receiver. Name the team that won a Super Bowl because of a wide receiver. Well, the reigning Super Bowl MVP is a wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, right?
And not just a guy who had a really good Super Bowl game. Like, we've seen receivers have like really good, but like obviously Cooper Kupp winning the Triple Crown last year and everything like that. So yeah, look, wide receivers are more important now than ever. And obviously to have a guy like Tyreek Hill is an advantage, but I don't know if you can necessarily get by with just really good players. I think the Patriots specifically, because I think, at best, I think their quarterback is not obviously, I think I think he's good. I do. I'm still waiting to see a little bit more. And I don't know if that's just, they need to get a guy out there. Cause again, we've talked about what he's done in Alabama and the talent that was around him. Maybe you go out and get someone to that level of talent and see what happens. And then if you continue to struggle, you make that move away from him. But right now, this team, to me, again, I agree with you. I want to see it happen against some of these other elite teams coming up, especially a team like Buffalo. I do believe the Patriots have an elite defense, perhaps a championship defense. The offense is a work in progress. And you know what? It's kind of strange to say, but that's where we're at with the Patriots. But at the end of the day, they're in a very competitive division right now, and a division that is, dare I say, wide open. Not really, but open enough that there's actually an opportunity for any one of these teams to win. But we'll see. So
yeah, right. We'll know a lot more a week from Thursday, right? Because Buffalo plays at Detroit on Thursday. The Patriots are at Minnesota, and then they play each other the following Thursday. So at that point, both teams will be 12 games into their schedule, which leaves them only 5 games remaining. We'll have a much better idea where those two teams stand, and then Miami gets back in play, of course, this week after a bye week.
Yeah, exactly.
And Zach Wilson is still the quarterback of the New York Jets. And now I've finally made this connection, Ian. He's Bo Callahan from Draft Day.
There you go. Bo Callahan. What an awful. I hated that movie. I'm sorry, folks. I really did. Yeah. Oh. I don't know.
Jennifer Garner? How can you hate a movie with Jennifer Garner? Come on.
I don't know. Look, I have a very
my girl.
I have a very weird view of like sports movies. I don't know. I feel like I should like more of them. You know what I mean? Like I'm just realizing this as I get older. It's like I always have like this sour taste when it comes to like sports movies. Like I love Mighty Ducks, but I hate it at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I can't put it. I don't know. That's a discussion for another day, though. Time is pressed. We are pressed for time, so we're gonna have to say goodbye for today. Like I said, a little quickie to start your Monday morning. Tomorrow, though, Tuesday, we will get back and kind of recap everything we saw and kind of get ready for Thursday. Because we have Thanksgiving coming up, and obviously, it's always fun to have Thanksgiving games, and I think we have some pretty good ones, or at least ones that could be entertaining. So. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Give us a follow on Twitter at FPC Radio Live. And, of course, head over to fullpresscoverage.com and check out everything that's going on over there. So thank you, everyone, and we will talk to you soon.